Revlon.
We're about to, maybe she's born with it.
Is that mine or yours?
No, this is not yours. It's
Where's the
Tech
racetrack?
Shed's. This one. Are you done?
This is my extent of the work this weekend. I'm gonna watch. So Kendra wasn't here last weekend and I had the car out for practice. I was gonna race it. Clearly we have two different driving styles. I made a bunch of changes to try and help the car handle for the way I wanted to drive it. So we're gonna move some lead, big chunk of lead here from the left front frame rail towards the back. Very free? Okay. Thank you. That's all. Like that much? Quarter? Maybe quarter? 3/16 to a quarter? 1/8. Okay. That'll work then. That'll be a good start.
You running?
Yeah.
Where's Kendra?
North Carolina still. It's a good trade-off, right? Certainly wasn't performing some decent lap times, so maybe the changes I made weren't the greatest. We've made a few changes back now. Kendra's gonna go out in the first practice here, and if she's unhappy with the car, we'll make some further changes, probably back closer to where it was. But we're gonna try something a little different than we have in the past, and I'm happy to see that the driver's not too disappointed to try it for a change.
What do you mean for a change?
Well,
You better stop. That's a lie.
the driver's looking forward to something different this week, so we're going to try something a little different than we've had in it, something a little closer to the way I tried to practice, and it was absolutely horrible when I was in it, so I can't see why it wouldn't be any better with her in it.
Different drivers have different styles, and your style doesn't work anymore.
No, it doesn't. It didn't. Oh, if I had known that, I would have done a little something of this.
Back in action.
We are
that better?
back in action.
Your
I
deck
got-
was loose as crap. How many times you tagged the ball last week?
No,
Didn't.
You were coming off a 2, you were looser than crap.
I know.
You were
No,
just
no, no.
The car
hammering
was
it.
terrible.
he was.
I was
loose.
terrible.
The
I was
car
terrible.
Was not.
I was terrible.
He was.
What's that?
That's
That was
what-
Kendra. That's
Really?
Kendra. Yeah.
I swear I thought you tagged it the one time.
I thought I might have, but no, no mark, not for me.
So the video evidence of my dad racing, despite the rain out that ended up happening later that day, made me a little bit leery on if I'm gonna let him back in the seat. We'll have to see, but he was driving a little over his head, and we all know from being around the track that my dad is a great driver, but he's a little rusty. So we'll have to see later in the year if we let him get back behind the wheel.
We're good on total weight. We'd be awesome if we had old rules with 55 left side weight. We just don't have the left side weight with you in the car. If we add any more to get left side weight, we're going to be way over on the total. So the only way we can add left side weight now is to take weight out of the car elsewhere.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're like perfect. If you were to qualify right now, you'd be fine. And then after the feature, you get 25-pound weight break. So we're going to practice. We'll practice with some fuel for qualifying, and we're going to send it. Good? Cross weight's up a bit. You were 53 and change when I first came in. Now it's at 55. So it'll be a little tighter. New tires is probably going to be all right. If we can make some changes.
Tighter? That is my least favorite word.
We can make some changes if you want, or you can cut these tires in like 1 or 2 laps and get a feel for it right before you
Are
come
you
in.
going to put everything back to what you changed because you effed
Not
my
right now,
life?
no. Because we've changed some tires. I've changed some other stuff. Don't move.
So
I'm
I
going to
can
go check
just-
the sway bar.
So I can just mask how bad the car's handling with the new tires.
Pretty much. And when in doubt, put another right rear on. So the term cross weight in a race car refers to the total percentage of weight which is carried by the right front tire and the left front tire. These cars are only turning left as they race, so they typically run a higher percentage between those two tires than these two tires. So the cross weight on the race car running anywhere 53, some guys are up 56, 57, 58. Again, if you go too high, the car's going to have a tendency to push and it's not going to want to turn. There's a real fine line between the cross weight, and there's so many other factors which get wrapped in with the tire stagger, the difference of circumference between the left tire and the right tire, or the right side tire. So all of that comes into play. So we've upped the cross weight in the car this week, so something a little different than we had last week. See what happens out there on the racetrack.
So last weekend, me not being here, my dad was going to race my car, and our driving styles are complete polar opposites. So he changed a lot of stuff on the car that I wouldn't have, or he said he had a lot of problems with the car that I know with the way I drive, I wouldn't have had those problems. So him changing the car could have really changed our setup and our handling. So with that, I was very surprised to get out on the track and only have one complaint. Well, actually a little bit of a second complaint. So I definitely thought that the car was a little bit tight just going into the corner and through the middle, which has been an ongoing problem for the past couple weeks. It seems to be just one thing that we can't get figured out, as well as there was little to no brake. So I felt like under braking, there wasn't a lot of pedal there. So that's an easy fix. We're gonna bleed the brakes and that'll be good to go. And then hopefully we can make a little bit of an adjustment and we'll get rolling through the center even better than we are before.
So just before apex and apex.
Because then I have a lot of wheel in it in 4.5, mostly 4.
Yep, keep going. On a scale of 1 to 10, what was it? Tight.
It's not even that tight. It's just
Just putting your wheel in?
It's just the wheel, so then I can't get off. Like I have too much wheel. I have to wait to get on the gas.
Or else?
Or else I'm gonna be loose and I'm gonna burn my tires off. So I'm not doing
We
that.
got more tires. All right.
I'm just saying.
We've gone up about 3/4 of an inch on the panhard bar.
Okay.
In this next practice, my thought was I wouldn't do any more than 3 laps again. And if it feels better, but you still need a little more, we'll put that side of the panhard bar up about the same.
Okay.
For qualifying, and then that'll be your final practice before feature. So following first practice, after all the changes I made to the car last week, Kendra went out and she was relatively happy with the way the car performed. We made a couple other small changes here for the second set of practice. Moved the panhard bar up to try and get the rear roll center a little higher, which will allow the car to turn a little better. She said the car was a little tight, it didn't want to turn just before the apex, just before the center of the corner. So we made an adjustment to try and make the car turn just a little bit better, and if it can turn a little bit better, you can roll the throttle a little sooner, and it equates to so much more speed at the end of the straightaway. So we're going to give her a little shot here in the next practice and see what happens before qualifying. Clear by 25, no pressure. Get that second car nice and smooth. New tires, lots of grip. In the pit, great job. So it's about the same because we're down a pound and we're down a 16.
Okay.
So I'll check the other side here.
Okay.
If you were to say yay, nay, anything, or were you great for those
I was
3 laps?
really happy.
Okay, I thought so too. I mean, you were right there with Gord. I know it was only a couple laps. I also took a couple pounds out of this left rear just to give you a tiny bit more stagger, which is going to help you turn right through the middle.
Yeah.
How was the drive off?
I was good.
Okay.
And I wasn't pushing it because I knew the car was good, so.
Okay, good. right, kiddo, first group, starting last in the first group.
I haven't qualified at all.
Try and
this
set them
year.
up, warm them up when you go out there. Like run a pace lap. Good scrub when you go in on the racetrack for your first lap. Like before you go into the pits, you know how you do a lap?
Yeah.
Scrub them up good. And I'll chat with you.
Dad, I haven't qualified yet this year.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
No,
How'd you not qualify in the velocity?
I didn't race velocity.
Or not velocity, but the 60 lapper?
We did heats and then we did heats for the 60 lapper, and I didn't make the qualifying in
Right.
my first weekend.
Green flag, 5 laps, 60 laps is the money one. 3 laps is the money. 5 to go right now. Nice wide turn, burn it off. Way right towards. Dig it all the way into 3, buddy. Good job. Big pull here, right off the corner, right to the wall. Hit your marker.
We didn't have a pretty strong run. I think we qualified second last, so like 18th or 17th. Which, I mean, whatever, wherever we start is not where we're gonna finish. We're gonna definitely be picking up a lot of spots with this car, but it was definitely tight through the center, just as it was in practice, but this time it was a little bit worse, so.
If you can get into 3 a little better, you're going to be good. Come to the big flag here. Come into white. Like it says to do this time. Get us the percentage. The cross weight. So it's
we
going
were
to make
at
it.
the crossway we liked.
Where I would like it, you were running lower before. When I checked the car, you were lower. You're like a 53. So I
But I was
put in
tight
4
before.
turns. I know, and what I'm saying is the wedge I put in, because it was too loose for me, it's going to tighten it up more for you.
Oh,
so I can
yeah,
make a
put
sway
it
bar
back.
adjustment, or I can make a sway bar adjustment or a Panhard bar adjustment, or we can go and just make a wedge adjustment because I've upped the wedge.
I want Panhard and wedge. I want both.
All right.
Wedge adjustment, I believe that when you take out of the left rear, what you're doing is you're actually decompressing the spring, and on the right rear we put wedge in, so we compress the spring, and it kind of just changes how the car handles once it's in the corner. Yeah, so what we're having our problem with is that when we go into the corner and our car is tight, we have too much wheel in it to turn it, that when we want to get on the gas, if we were just to get on the gas, we would be super loose and just want to spin around because there's all this wheel in it and the wheels aren't facing where we want them to.
So maybe we take a little more wedge
Take
out
more
for the
wedge
second.
for second, yeah. We'll see how that works. Hopefully we can rebound from our qualifying run and come back with, I was hoping for a top 5, but now that we're so far back, I'm gonna go for a top 10 in this race.
Okay, scrub them up. Car stop, bottom of the front stretch. Green, 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 green. Nice line inside. Just inside. Nice inside. Nice roll, buddy. Inside. Keep running them.
So in our first feature race, the car was handling pretty good, a little bit iffy off the start, but it came in while we had our first caution on lap 7. It was perfect by lap 7. And then when we restarted, there was a little bit of drama between 2 of the cars. One of the cars, they were actually both started right in front of me, and they were battling back and forth. And while they were battling back and forth, the one car was going in very hard into the corners and kind of just door slamming the other one a little bit on the outside. That was fine. I mean, that's hard racing, but the unfortunate thing is the guy on the outside did get a left front tire, went down, so that kind of sucks for him. But the way he retaliated against it is totally ridiculous and totally unfair. So what had happened was after the caution came out, he actually tried to wreck the guy under caution with a left front flat tire. So that's good for nobody, and it's not good for the sport. So that just sucked to start. But then What's worse is when both of the cars got sent to the back and one of them was inside of me and we were passing, racing hard. The one car that got the flat tire drove in, no brakes, going into turn 3, into the car on the inside of me to retaliate. He pushed up into me, we both got a little squirrely. He spun, I kept going, all was good. When that caution came out, unfortunately, about 2 or 3 laps after that, I really started to realize that my power steering had been gone and was going down even worse and worse. So I ended up completely losing power steering, and when the next caution came out for another spin, I pulled into the pits and got them to top it up. Barely made it out before the field had taken a full lap, and unfortunately, within 3 laps, I was back to complete manual steering, which is extremely hard to drive, to start, and to race with. I could barely pull it back into the pits after we were done, so that was enough for me. I pulled it in with probably about 10 to go, and I mean, that's just racing, so luckily enough, we had some people that had the part we needed, and hopefully we can take one of our parts off, which is the fuel pump, or sorry, the power steering pump reservoir, and put it on the pump that we got lent. So fingers crossed that we can get the reservoir off and get it onto the pump, and then we'll be back and good to go for our second feature. Unfortunately, within 3 laps, I was back to complete manual steering, which is extremely hard to drive, to start, and to race with. I could barely pull it back into the pits after we were done, so that was enough for me.
Now, is that where they usually go from, right here, Randall?
Well, the way it's thrown around,
Yeah.
it's got to be coming out that seal right here, because otherwise it wouldn't be thrown all over here where you see it.
Right, okay.
Right?
And I noticed
Coming out the bottom of the pump or something like that, it just wouldn't
it would be
out.
localized.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I pull that off and get a puller and pull the pulley off, is there a seal in behind there? Okay.
It's just like the seal in behind the crank. Crank pulley, right? It's just a smaller version of it. The problem is you can't get it out without destroying.
We've got one option, because there's going to be no seals anywhere for this thing. Our option is to top it up and run it. Put the hood on and it won't go on the windshield. You're going to get some smoke, and as soon as it starts to get tight, just pull it in.
I don't want it to do that though. I want to change it. Why can't we ask somebody to borrow one?
Because I highly doubt anyone has a seal, and I don't think that anyone's going to have a power steering pump.
Yeah, what about the car that got DQ'd over there at Nick's? They probably let us borrow theirs. Or either one of the Halliburton cars probably let me borrow theirs.
We can ask. We can go
I'm
look
gonna
to see
ask
what
Nick.
they've got. Randall, you want to go down with me and have a look at this one? Because if it's not the same style, we don't have a remote reservoir. The one I have is for a remote reservoir. This one, and there's no way this reservoir is coming off this pump. So that's why my best option, at some point, our best option, Kendra, is to get a seal for this one. Because we can't just...
No one's going to have a seal for it.
No one's going to have a seal.
Even
The Bayside
short
trailer wouldn't have a...
Probably wouldn't have it.
No.
So the return is into the tank, and it's this fitting, correct?
Yes.
Which is why we're beat if we don't have an on pump reservoir.
Yes. Because we don't have lines.
We don't have a line.
We
for
won't have a
that
line to run a
reservoir
remote
the pump.
reservoir somewhere.
Okay. That's what we find out.
All right, let's go. Let's
There
go.
we go.
We're gonna go check Nick's car. All right, let's go down there, Kenny. Randall, we'll take a walk, and we'll be back. We're gonna go down to talk with the 24 crew, and they gave us some help when we were out there. Gonna see if we can't get the part that we need to replace. There's a power steering issue. There was a small leak. It's become a substantial leak. It pushed all the fluid out. And when you lose all the power steering fluid, the steering gets really tight. We don't want that out on the racetrack. So we'll go see if we can't fix the part. If not, it might be a start and park. We'll see what happens. We got some time to get it worked on. We can take it off, Randall. We got that bolt there. Will that help you?
Ready, star. Car number 9. Please come pick a number.
Well, again, thanks and courtesy to the 24 Nick Getz team, who are fantastic at stocking parts. We've been able to purchase a brand new power steering pump. So we're going to put that on with the reservoir that we just took off our old one, put it on. And Kendra said the car was handling well, real happy with the way it was running in the feature. So hopefully no leaking power steering pump. Good power steering. We'll be good to go 35 laps. Put in half the blue and then we'll check it. How did it feel when you were doing that, Reno? Horrible? Yeah.
Please line up now.
Ow, my finger. On camera?
Duck ya. Whoa! I've been to Donnie's. I got moves. That's
Love
the
you.
adversity we face at the racetrack. It's more with her than it is with the car. Maybe hitting some body, but hopefully we're not turning right, we're only turning left. 35 laps here, bud. And green, 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 green. Take a few laps with the tires front and inside. Inside, just inside. And clear all around, clear all around, clear all around. 6 laps back. On your bumper, no pressure. And inside.
So in the second feature, after we fixed our power steering problem, we were running really, really good. The car has never rolled through the center that well. I had a really, really fun time tonight, honestly. And we had a little bit of problems going to the right, but in our circle track world, we do not need to go to the right. So that was all good. So our left turn was awesome. And honestly, just the car had never handled that good in a race in this car.
Clear, 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 clear. Hit your marks, roll them. You got 41 on your bumper and cycle. Hit your marks now outside. Giving you room outside, just outside. It's one lane. Great job. Hit your marks. Outside. Outside. Get underneath the line car. Great job. Outside. So we made some changes, and it really, really came alive in that feature. She had a couple long runs there where she was stuck behind a couple cars running side by side. She had a little more racetrack and she was faster, but you got to be patient. You got to let people race their race. And then a caution came out. Things came around for, and she was able to make some quality passes there towards the end, and the car either was getting better or just wasn't falling off like some of the other cars on the racetrack. So really encouraging to see such a really good run after a couple of problems we've had the last couple of weeks. She hasn't been in the car for 3 weeks. She's been down in North Carolina. So overall, fantastic night. We're able to put the car in the trailer, do a little bit of maintenance this week, and see if we can't get it even better next week. I mean, very, very, very close field. It was great to see. They were door to door, bumper to bumper for the majority of the race, and hoping that we can pick up a few more spots and improve on the 9th place finish that she had in the second feature. Big, intense looking, but you're clear, clear here. You're continuing. Hit your mark here. Hit your mark. Great. Coming to the white. To the white. See if you can't get anyone. And just outside. You are going to be just outside.
I'm really, really happy with how the car handles and how the race went. I'm a little disappointed. I got stuck behind 2 cars for a lot of the race. They were battling side by side hard. And I went to go do the 3 wide pass a couple times, but I decided, no, we're not going to do that. So when the caution came out, we got away from them, and it's all good there. So I'm just really excited to bring this car back next week and see how it performs.